Look up. What do you see? The sky, the moon, the stars. For all of human history, this has been a realm of myths, gods, and poets, a symbol of peace and infinite possibility. But what if I told you this peace is an illusion? What if I told you that right now, hundreds of miles above your head, a secret war is already being fought? A silent, invisible conflict that you depend on every single second of every day. The GPS that guides your car, the bank transaction on your phone, the weather forecasts you just checked, it all runs on a fragile web of satellites. And that web is now a battlefield. This isn't science fiction. This is the new geopolitical reality. And the fight for the ultimate high ground has already begun. The first space race was simple. It was a clear two-player game, USA versus the Soviet Union. The goal was prestige. It was about planting a flag, leaving footprints, and proving your system was superior. It was a sprint. This new space race is completely different. It's a marathon with a dozen runners. And the prize isn't just bragging rights. It's control. Control of the global economy, of military power, and of the future of humanity itself. The players have changed. You still have the United States, the reigning champion, trying to defend its position. But now you have a formidable challenger in China, a nation with immense resources and a long-term vision to become the dominant space power by 2045. You have Russia, the old veteran, acting as a disruptive wild card, still possessing incredible capabilities. You have new, ambitious powers like India, which became the first nation to land on the moon's south pole, proving it's a force to be reckoned with. And then you have the real game changers, private companies. A few decades ago, space was the exclusive domain of governments. Today, one company, SpaceX, launches more rockets than any nation on Earth. Billionaires like Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos aren't just building rockets. They're building spacefaring empires that operate outside the traditional rules of geopolitics. The stakes are almost incomprehensibly high. The modern world is built on space infrastructure. There are over 9,000 active satellites orbiting our planet, forming the backbone of our communication, financial, and navigation systems. Militaries don't just use satellites for spying anymore. They are essential for guiding drones, coordinating troops, and aiming missiles. To lose space is to lose a war on Earth before it even begins. But the ambition goes far beyond Earth's orbit. This new race is about seizing the resources of the solar system. The moon is no longer just a pretty light in the sky. It's seen as a cosmic gas station and a treasure chest of rare materials. Asteroids, once just a threat, are now viewed as floating platinum mines worth trillions. This is the story of the second space race. It's not about flags and footprints. It's about satellite killers, lunar mining claims, and the fight to write the rules for the next frontier of human expansion. It's the ultimate invisible battleground. Our story of confrontation begins with a treaty that is now dangerously obsolete. In 1907, at the height of the Cold War, the US and the Soviet Union signed the Outer Space Treaty. It was a remarkable document. It declared that space was the province of all mankind, that no nation could claim sovereignty over the moon or other celestial bodies, and crucially, it banned placing weapons of mass destruction in orbit. It was designed to keep the heavens peaceful. For decades, it mostly worked. But the treaty is full of loopholes. It says nothing about conventional weapons in space. It says nothing about attacking a satellite from the ground, and it was written in an era before anyone could imagine a private company having its own space program. The first crack in the peaceful facade appeared on January 11th, 2007. On that day, China launched a missile from its territory and slammed it into one of its own aging weather satellites. The impact was catastrophic. The satellite shattered into over 3,000 pieces of trackable debris, creating a deadly minefield in a critical orbit that is still a threat to every satellite today. The message was brutally clear. China could now destroy American satellites. The invisible infrastructure that the US military and economy depended on was vulnerable. Space was officially a war-fighting domain. The US responded by demonstrating its own capability, shooting down a malfunctioning spy satellite a year later. The race to weaponize space was on. But these new weapons aren't just missiles. Russia has tested so-called nesting doll satellites, where a larger satellite releases a smaller one, which can then maneuver to inspect or interfere with another nation's satellite. The United States has the mysterious X-37B, a robotic spaceplane that can stay in orbit for years, conducting secret missions that no one fully understands. This isn't just about destroying satellites. It's about blinding your enemy. It's about creating chaos. In a future conflict, the first shots might not be fired on land or at sea, but in the silent vacuum of space, crippling an enemy's ability to communicate or navigate before they even know the war has begun. For a while, it seemed the new space race was all about this military posturing in Earth orbit. But that was just the opening act. The real prize, the twist in our story, lies further out. The real prize is the moon. Why is everyone suddenly racing back to the moon? After the Apollo missions, humanity didn't go back for 50 years. It was seen as a dead, dusty rock, a been there, done that destination. That has all changed. We now know the moon is not dead. It's a treasure chest. At the permanently shadowed craters of the lunar poles, there are vast deposits of water ice. Water is the oil of the solar system. You can drink it, you can get oxygen from it to breathe, and you can split it into hydrogen and oxygen, the two primary components of rocket fuel. A base on the moon with access to water ice isn't just a base. It's a refueling depot. It's the key to unlocking the rest of the solar system. And there's more. The lunar soil is rich in rare earth metals and, most tantalizingly, a substance called helium-3. This isotope, rare on Earth, is a potential fuel for clean, safe nuclear fusion energy. The nation that figures out how to mine helium-3 and bring it back to Earth could solve the world's energy crisis and become unbelievably wealthy. Suddenly, the moon isn't a monument. It's strategic real estate. And a new scramble for territory has begun. On one side, you have the United States leading the Artemis Accords, a set of principles for lunar exploration that has been signed by dozens of countries. On the other side, you have China and Russia, who have rejected the accords and announced their own joint plan to build an international lunar research station. The world is splitting into two camps, with two competing visions for how to govern and exploit the moon. The Artemis Accords, for example, allow for the creation of safety zones around a nation's lunar operations. To its supporters, this is a common-sense way to prevent accidents. To its critics, like China and Russia, it's a sneaky way for the U.S. to use legal language to effectively claim territory and lock up the best mining spots, violating the spirit of the Outer Space Treaty. This brings us to the hidden hand, the deeper geopolitical game being played. The competition for the moon isn't just about the moon, it's about controlling the space between the Earth and the moon. This region is called Cislunar space. And the nation that controls Cislunar space controls the trade routes of the 21st century. Think about it. In the 16th century, Spain and Portugal grew powerful by controlling the sea lanes. In the 20th century, the United States became a superpower by guaranteeing the security of global maritime trade. In the 21st century, the next great power may be the one that controls the flow of resources and information through space. The U.S. military is already talking about the need for cislunar domain awareness, the ability to track everything happening between here and the moon. They're worried about a future where a Chinese lunar base could host sensors or even weapons that could target critical U.S. satellites in high orbit. And then there's the economic power. Imagine a future where a private company like SpaceX has a regular transport service to the moon. They would control the logistics. They would set the prices. They would decide who gets to go. This is a level of power that transcends national governments. Elon Musk's goal isn't just to visit Mars. It's to create a new economic system independent of Earth. The hidden war for space is a war for control. Control of information, with satellite internet constellations like Starlink beaming data directly to users, bypassing state censors. Control of resources, with the potential of asteroid mining to completely upend the value of precious metals on Earth. And control of the ultimate high ground, giving a nation an unparalleled military and economic advantage. The climax of this story is happening right now, in real time. It is a frantic, high-stakes race to one specific spot in the solar system, the south pole of the moon. This is where the highest concentrations of water ice are believed to exist. It is the most valuable real estate off-world. In 2023, India's Chandrayaan-3 mission successfully landed there. A stunning achievement. Just days before, a Russian lander crashed while attempting the same feat. The United States is planning to send astronauts there with its Artemis 3 mission. China is sending a series of robotic missions to scout the area for its future base. We are in a situation with no clear rules. The Outer Space Treaty says no one can claim the moon. But what does that mean in practice? What happens when a Chinese rover and an American rover arrive at the same ice-rich crater? Who gets the rights to mine it? The treaty is silent. The unspoken rule that is emerging is first come, first served. The nation or company that can land, set up operations, and start extracting resources first will have a massive advantage. They can create a de facto property right, even if it's not legally recognized. This is why the pace is so frantic. It's a land rush, and the starting pistol has already been fired. The tension lies in this legal and diplomatic gray zone. We are one miscalculation, one dispute over a patch of lunar dust, away from the first off-world conflict. As this race accelerates, we are heading towards a fork in the road. The future of humanity in space could follow one of three paths. Scenario A, the Wild West. This is the default path. No new meaningful treaties are signed. Space becomes a lawless frontier governed by might makes right. Competition over orbital slots and lunar resources escalates. Anti-satellite tests, both overt and covert, become more common, creating so much debris that certain orbits become unusable for generations, a scenario known as the Kessler syndrome. It's a future of conflict and chaos that could trap us on Earth. Scenario B, the space concert. In this more optimistic future, the major players, the US, China, Europe, Russia, India, realize the immense danger of the Wild West scenario. They come to the negotiating table and hammer out a new treaty for the 21st century. They create a space traffic management system, like air traffic control for Earth orbit. They agree on rules for resource extraction, perhaps creating an international body to manage it, similar to the International Seabed Authority. Space becomes a domain of tense but managed competition. Scenario C, the corporate hegemony. In this scenario, the nation-states dither and fail to act. Into this vacuum step the private companies. SpaceX, Blue Origin, and future corporations become the dominant powers in space. They build the infrastructure, they control the transport, and they set the rules. We might see a future with a SpaceX city on Mars or a Blue Origin mining outpost on the moon, operating under corporate law, not international treaty. Humanity expands into the solar system, but under the banner of a brand, not a nation. The peaceful, starry sky has been fooling us. It is the new great game, a chessboard that extends for millions of miles, where the pieces are satellites, moonlanders, and robotic probes. It is the ultimate invisible battleground, and the outcome of this contest will define the landscape of power on Earth for the next century. The rules for this new frontier are being written right now, not in a grand public forum, but in classified military documents, in the boardrooms of tech companies, and in the mission control centers of a handful of powerful nations. The future of humanity in space, whether it will be one of cooperation, conflict, or corporate control, is being decided above our heads, in silence. So, who do you think will win this new space race? Will it be a nation like the US or China, or will a private company like SpaceX ultimately become the first true superpower of the solar system? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below.